May I have your attention, please? We're going to call the meeting to order. Let's stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are these on? Yes.
Let me get a flavor.
Public notice, please, Madam Secretary.
Good morning, President and
Good morning.
Commissioners. Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been posted at the board's office and website and emailed to the Department of State and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Holden?
Here.
Commissioner Solomon?
Here.
Commissioner Gordon?
Here.
Commissioner Christodoulou?
Here.
President Felice?
Here. Next regularly scheduled meeting.
The next regular board meeting will be held on Wednesday, December 21, 2022 at 10 a.m. It will be a hybrid meeting in person at the board hearing room at 44 South Clinton Avenue in Trenton and live stream via YouTube.
Thank you. There will be no executive session today. I do have some opening remarks that I would like to make. First of all, I hope all of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and as other holidays are approaching, that we all get in the spirit of joyfulness, peace, and health. Today is one of those anniversaries of a day that lives, as Franklin Roosevelt said, in infamy. It's one of those days that December 7th, 1941, that most Americans will never forget, whether they were alive or not. And looking around here, I wasn't even alive back then. And it is something that really obviously changed the course of America. And we were called once again, as we are in every generation, to defend democracy and uphold the Constitution of the United States. See, they even told me that. You know, it's one of those days like 9/11, one of those days like when President Kennedy was shot, that we don't forget. And every generation is called to defend this wonderful experiment that was initiated back in the 1700s. And so many people, thousands, millions, have died over the years to defend that. So I'd really like, for a moment of silence, for all of those people who died on December 7th, 1941 in Pearl Harbor. Thank you. Additionally, before we meet again at the end of December, Hanukkah will be here, and I expect many gifts. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Did you hear that, Bob?
Yep.
Okay. And I know that's a joyous occasion, and a lot of gifts are given, and I wish all of those who will be celebrating Hanukkah a wonderful, wonderful, peaceful time. Last Friday, I had the honor, really, of blowing something up. And as I said in my remarks, I'm a lot better at destroying than constructing. We were down in Logan, New Jersey. Now I want to see a show of hands of, not you, I want to see a show of hands of those who know where Logan, New Jersey is. Oh, how about that?
Yeah?
Third legislative district.
Get the press.
As you may know, the Logan coal plant was blown up. There was an implosion. It was very, very exciting. It's the first time that I've seen, and Commissioner Zion was there with me, first time I've seen an implosion in person. And my only primary concern is that I was going to be hit with a brick or something. But that didn't happen. And I had the pleasure of pushing the ceremonial plunger, that's it. I wanted to say button, but it wasn't a button. Plunger, and then somebody who knew what they were doing actually blew it up. So, but this is a milestone for the state of New Jersey. A coal plant. It was picked up by media in both New York and Philadelphia, and it was really quite an event. And I think it just continues to show what we're trying to do, and hopefully we continue to go down the right road as we work toward a clean energy environment. I get to do certain things only because I'm the president, but these things couldn't happen without the work and the dedication and commitment of my colleagues sitting up here. So I want to thank them personally for all of their dedication and their hard work in moving New Jersey in a very important direction. Making history is not easy, and being part of history is certainly something that is gratifying. And as I say, we continue to move the governor's agenda insofar as clean energy is concerned. Do any of my colleagues have any words they would like to speak?
Well,
Yes.
I just want to note that you also made the Wall Street Journal, although not by name, but by title, for the implosion.
Oh, good.
Did it move any markets?
It did, yeah. As a matter of fact, I got a lot of hints. I'll talk to you about them later. Madam Secretary, the consent agenda, please.
On consent agenda items 1A, 3A, 4A, 4B, 5A, and 6A.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou?
Yes.
President Ferlisi?
Yes. There are no items under audits to be considered today, so that brings us down to energy. David, you're up. Obviously a FERC item, David?
That's correct, Mr. President. On November 10th, 2022, staff on behalf of the board filed an answer responding to the Merchant Transmission Facility's protest of the SAA cost allocation methodology. Our comments argued that the tariff changes only allocate costs to New Jersey, and that the Merchant Transmission Facility's concerns are misplaced, and the need for a timely order, and that FERC needs to issue a timely order for us to proceed with the state agreement approach. Therefore, staff recommends that the board ratify comments filed on November 10th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou?
Yes.
President Ferlisi?
Yes.
I have a question. Has
Yes.
there been any ruling? Yeah, right? Okay.
Yes,
think-
Friday, the SAA cost
Yes.
allocation methodology was approved by the commission at 4-0 votes.
Right.
With Commissioner Danley concurring and Commissioner Chairman
Glick.
Not participating.
I just thought, since we're voting it.
Another FERC item, David?
Yes, November 15th, 2021, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act was signed into law and enacted by the U.S. Department of Energy to establish the Civil Nuclear Credit Program. On February 15th, 2022, the DOE issued a notice of intent and requested information regarding the establishment of the Civil Nuclear Credit Program. And on March 8th, 2022, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities filed comments. In this comments, the board offered its perspective, which in part was informed by New Jersey's longstanding support for nuclear facilities and the implementation of the zero emission certificate program in 2018. The DOE has since issued and awarded the first round of civil nuclear credits. On September 30th, 2022, the DOE released and requested feedback on draft guidance for the CNC's second award cycle. On November 4th, 2022, board staff on behalf of the board submitted comments for DOE's consideration as a finalized guidance document. Staff recommends that the board ratify the comments submitted on November 4th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Christie Blue,
Yes.
President Ferguson.
Yes. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Paul, you have something regarding Atlantic City Electric?
Yes, sir. On April 27, 2021, the board approved Atlantic City Electric Company's energy efficiency filing, which included, among other things, the establishment of an electric conservation incentive mechanism to account for the lost revenues resulting from the potential decrease in customer energy usage stemming from administering clean energy programs. The SIP is calculated each month by applicable rate schedule by subtracting the baseline revenue per customer from the actual revenue per customer and multiplying the resulting revenue per customer by the actual number of customers for that month. And that results in either a margin deficiency, which should be collected from customers, or margin excess to be refunded to customers. On July 29th, 2022, ACE filed a petition seeking approval to adjust its SIP rates based upon an initial deferral period of July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and refund a net SIP amount of approximately $13.054 million. ACE proposed a rate adjustment related to changes in the average revenue per customer when compared to the baseline revenue per customer. The parties have determined that while additional time is needed to complete a review of the petition, it is reasonable and in the public interest for ACE to implement provisional SIP rates. The parties have executed a stipulation that would allow ACE to implement SIP rates consistent with the petition on a provisional basis, subject to refund with interest. As a result of the stipulation, ACE's average residential customer would see a decrease in their monthly bill of 24 cents. Staff recommends that the board issue an order approving the stipulation for provisional SIP rates effective January 1, 2023, and direct ACE to file tariffs by December 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Paul.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Yes.
Not on this matter, Mr. President, but I just want to thank Paul for his service. My understanding is that this is Paul's last week, and he has made a great contribution to this organization, particularly in the area of the energy division. And I want to wish him the very best of luck in his new endeavors, which will be in public service. So I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. I was going to mention that before our next meeting, you'll be gone, Paul, and you'll be going over to banking and insurance.
Correct.
And you've been here 4 years.
Yes, sir.
And to echo what Commissioner Gordon mentioned, we thank you for your contribution to the board. And as I told you when we met, you always have a home here.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I enjoyed working with everyone here at the board, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And my last day will be next Friday, the 16th.
Not this Friday.
Not this one, but next one. So, thank you.
Okay, good. Good luck.
And
Thank you.
if I could, Mr. President,
Sure.
also to add, Paul, not just great appreciation on behalf of the board, but my personal thanks for making my transition into this really as smooth as possible and really educating me on so many things that you know, and I'll never know as well as you. But you did a great job in bearing with me and helping me personally, and what you've done for the state of New Jersey will always be remembered. So best of luck to you and your family. I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you, Commissioner. You
Good
too.
luck.
I also understand, which I heard through the grapevine, unfortunately, and I don't like to hear things through the grapevine, but that I see Jody Raines in the back, and it's my understanding that Jody is also leaving and is taking a job with the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners. So, Jody, thank you for your service, and when do you start?
I basically will be retiring from the board as of the end of the month, so.
At the end of?
But I appreciate everything. You guys have been phenomenal. I appreciate your confidence in me. Promoted me to deputy director about 1.5 years ago. And we're family, so you're not losing me. I'm just changing form. But thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Come on.
Yep.
And to that end, I'm looking forward. Jody's going to be working directly with the Critical Infrastructure Committee, of which I'm chair, and as many of you know, Lynn Constantini, who used to be here at the board, and also took a role down at NARUC. She's stealing Jody from us to bring her down here, but have really brought New Jersey and what we've done here in the area, especially cybersecurity, to national attention. So from my point of view, looking forward to having you and working with you at NARUC and continuing this relationship. So thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Michael, you're up.
Don't we need
We need a vote on this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation for item 2C, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Delou,
Yes?
President Fideliso.
Yes. There are no items under cable television or telecommunications. We're up to water, Michael.
Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners. On October 3rd, 2022, pursuant to the New Jersey Water Supply Public-Private Contracting Act, the Borough of Fair Lawn filed a petition with the board seeking approval for a services agreement to maintain and repair water storage tanks with Utility Service, Inc. The board normally does not have jurisdiction over the Borough of Fair Lawn, but we have to approve contracts such as this whenever an unregulated entity enters into a contract such as this. The borough also filed an application with the Division of Local Government Services at the Department of Community Affairs. Under the contract, Fair Lawn agrees to engage Utility Services, Inc. to provide professional services to maintain its 4 water storage tanks. Board staff recommends approval of the public-private contract, subject to the condition that any extension of the contract beyond the 20-year term or any amendment to the contract, changing the formula or other basis determining the charges contained in the contract, be subject to board review and approval. The local finance board intends to consider the management services agreement at its December 14th public agenda meeting, and by letter dated November 23rd, 2022, the Division of Rate Counsel submitted a no objection letter to the board's approval of the contract. And again, the board staff recommends that the board approve the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Krista DeLu?
Yes.
President Ferlisa?
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
There are no items under reliability and security, customer assistance for consideration. That brings us to clean energy, and I think, Dustin, you're the first one up.
Morning, Mr. President and Commissioners.
Morning.
The North Brunswick Township Board of Education revised the scope of a project under the Pay for Performance Existing Buildings Program, requesting board approval of an additional financial incentive of $42,365.30. This increases the original incentive amount of $663,769.26 to $706,134.56 for the installation of energy conservation measures at North Brunswick Township High School. The project has a total cost of $4,293,635. If approved, the scope revision would include the installation of refrigeration controls and the replacement of existing motors with electronically commutated motors for a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer. Annually, this project will conserve an estimated 1,386,238 kilowatt hours of electricity and 17,599 therms of natural gas with the extended scope. The project will also reduce peak electricity demand by an anticipated 649.4 kilowatts and reduce the school's annual energy costs by an estimated $160,521.51. Staff recommends approval of the application for the total estimated incentive amount.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Yes.
If I could, Mr. President, just as a professor for the last 25 years, I'm encouraged by this because these savings, in my opinion, will be able to be used for improving the educational process for these students. And that's really one of the great things about energy efficiency is that money can be allocated to other things. So I'm sure that the North Brunswick school system will use the savings we're helping them gain for the benefit of all students. So I'm very encouraged and pleased with that kind of effort.
Thank you. Any other comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Krista DeLu?
Yes.
President Ferlisa?
Yes. The next item, Dustin?
The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, authorized the United States Congress to appropriate $500 million for state energy program formula awards, which are administered by the United States Department of Energy. The U.S. DOE allocated $9,847,540 of this new funding to the state of New Jersey. The award consists of a 5-year project and budget period and does not require state matching funds. Staff proposed a state plan under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law for submission to the Department of Energy. The plan would align with the Clean Energy Act of 2018 and New Jersey Energy Master Plan goals, as it would expand clean energy program offerings to customers who are not served by investor-owned electric or gas utility companies. These non-IOU customers do not pay a societal benefits charge and therefore do not qualify for state-funded clean energy programs. The proposal includes the following budgets and programs: $6,847,540 for a program that expands the eligibility of EE incentives offered by New Jersey's Clean Energy Program to non-IOU customers. $1,500,000 for a program that expands the eligibility of the purchase and installation incentives for eligible electric vehicle charging equipment in multi-unit dwellings to non-IOU customers. And $1,500,000 for a program that expands the eligibility of the municipal LED streetlights program to allow municipalities not served by IOUs to retrofit municipal streetlights with LED bulbs and fixtures. Staff recommends approval of the state plan, the budget of $9,847,540 in federal funds, the establishment of the above programs, and submission of this plan to the Department of Energy.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Yes.
I know 9 municipalities are very excited about this possibility of this program, so good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Roll call.
The motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christie DeLu,
Yes.
President Fidelis.
Yes. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Veronique, you're up. Competitive Solar Incentive Program.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners. This agenda item involves the launch of the new Competitive Solar Incentive, or CSI, program, which will form part of the Successor Solar Incentive, or SUSI program, established by the board in July 2021. The CSI program complements the administratively determined incentive or ADI program, which opened to registrations in August 2021. The goal of the CSI program is to provide incentive for at least 300 megawatts per year of new solar development in New Jersey. This means almost doubling the rate of solar installation in the state. The new program comes in addition to an already strong solar market in New Jersey, with solar providing employment for over 6,200 people in December 2021, up from less than 5,400 in December 2020. As of October 2021, New Jersey has over 166,000 solar installations for a total of 4,218 megawatt electricity generation capacity, and an additional 741 megawatts in the pipeline. In addition, 2022 is projected to be a record or near record year for solar installations in the state, despite tightness in the supply chain and lingering concerns about COVID-19. Finally, solar incentive levels for new installations have declined between 30 and 70% over the last few years, demonstrating substantial progress on the goal of controlling ratepayer costs. This agenda item marks another milestone in the board's commitment to New Jersey's development of a sustainable, cost-effective solar electricity market. It is accompanied by 2 rule proposals later on the agenda, which will lay out the regulations for the CSI program and accompanying siting requirements. The CSI program will use competitive market forces to set incentive values for all grid supply projects and net-metered non-residential projects greater than 5 megawatts. As such, the program is primarily a program for large-scale solar development in New Jersey, and it is the first time that the state has created a program specifically geared towards this segment. The CSI program design is accompanied by siting requirements that will apply to all projects that are eligible for the CSI program, regardless of whether they actually seek an incentive. These siting requirements follow stipulations laid out in the Solar Act of 2021 and establish construction requirements designed to uphold the statutory mandate to minimize as much as practicable potential adverse environmental impacts. A little bit of history. So New Jersey's SREC program, established in 2004, was the earliest functioning SREC market, and to this day is the largest solar certificate market in the country. This incentive model has proven effective at enabling the state to transition away from providing rebates for solar installations starting in 2007. SRECs enabled the solar market to grow beyond its initial goals of 2% to reach today's penetration exceeding 6% of the retail electricity market. With today's action, we're aiming to further grow that percentage. The Clean Energy Act of 2018 required the board close the SREC program to new registrants when the state's solar generation reached 5.1% of retail electricity sales, and study how to replace the program toward continuing solar development in a more cost-effective manner. The board initiated a solar transition stakeholder process that year, and over the course of 3 years, staff has held over a dozen stakeholder meetings, issued multiple straw proposals, surveys, a request for comments and made itself available to answer questions from the public during office hours. Upon reaching the 5.1% threshold, the board closed the SREC program and opened the transition incentive to new registrants on May 1, 2020. The Solar Act of 2021, signed by Governor Murphy in July 2021, provides additional guidance on how to design and implement the new solar incentive programs. On July 28, 2021, drawing on the extensive public record and guided by the mandates of the Clean Energy Act of 2012 and the Solar Act of 2021, the board established the SUSI program and ADDI program, which the board opened on August 28, 2021. Since that time, staff has issued 2 straw proposals, conducted 6 stakeholder meetings, and issued several requests for comments on the design of the CSI program and solar siting for CSI eligible facilities. The CSI program on the agenda today complements the ADDI program as the second major leg of the successor solar incentive program. The solar transition process and today's recommendations by staff seek to balance several key objectives. In particular, these recommendations seek to balance the board's long-standing commitment to the continued health and growth of the state solar industry as a key pillar of the governor's commitment to reaching 100% clean energy by 2050, with its equally long-standing commitment to customer affordability, and to ensuring that each ratepayer dollar of solar incentive provides the maximum benefits to the state. In light of these objectives and the statutory mandates described earlier, staff recommends that the board establish the new competitive solar incentive program with incentives to be delivered via the creation of NJ SREC 2s, where one NJ SREC 2 will be created for every megawatt hour of solar generation under the program. Before going into details, I would like to take a moment to thank all the stakeholders who have participated in this process, whose input has both shaped and improved the design of the CSI program. I also want to recognize the work accomplished by the board's consultant, Denmark Energy Advisors, the Clean Energy Program Administrator, TRC, as well as all the members of staff across multiple divisions at the board, including the Division of Clean Energy, the Legal Division, the Communications Division, Division of Energy, and the Secretary's Office. I also thank the Attorney General's Office. And last but not least, I want to thank our colleagues at the Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Agriculture, and the State Agricultural Development Committee, who have provided crucial help and input on the design of the program and siting requirements. Staff recommends the CSI program be structured into 5 separate categories or tranches to ensure that a range of solar projects, including those in preferred sites, are able to participate despite different cost profiles. Staff recommends these to be: Tranche 1, basic grid supply; Tranche 2, grid supply on the built environment; Tranche 3, grid supply on contaminated sites and landfills; Tranche 4, net metered non-residential projects above 5 megawatts; and Tranche 5, storage paired with grid supply solar. For each solar station, CSI eligible facilities will be allowed to submit a bid for an SREC 2 award, specified in dollars per megawatt hour of solar electricity production. Staff recommends that to compete in Tranche 5, a solar plus storage project will need to provide a 2-part bid, a solar-only SREC 2 price for an eligible grid supply solar project and a storage adder price. All projects will be subject to the pre-qualification requirements for applicable to the specific tranche, and once accepted into the solar station, compete on price only. All grid supply projects, that is tranches 1, 2, and 3, will be eligible to compete first in the basic grid supply tranche. The lowest price projects will receive awards. This approach allows for selection of more projects with preferred siting if these are competitive with basic grid supply. Storage bids will be ranked by normalized storage bid, defined as a bid that corresponds to an incentive for storage with a discharge capacity equivalent to 4 hours of the capacity of the associated solar facility. For pre-qualification, which will be conducted before a project will be allowed to bid, staff recommends the following requirement. Either demonstrate completion of a PJM feasibility study or new Phase 1 study, or evidence of an executed Part 1 interconnection agreement. Further, staff recommends that project be required to pay a $1,000 per megawatt non-refundable solicitation participation fee, where the funds will be used to offset the administrative cost of the CSI program. Projects benefiting public entities would be exempted from this fee. SREC 2s under the CSI program will be awarded pay as bid, meaning that each awarded project will receive the incentive that it has bid into the program. The SREC 2s will be a fixed amount in dollars per megawatt hour for a qualification life of 15 years. Staff further recommends that the board reserve the right to establish by order confidential, predetermined price caps for any of all tranches prior to the solicitation. These caps would protect ratepayers against excessive prices in cases of insufficient competition. For the initial procurement, staff recommends the following procurement targets. Tranche 1, basic grid supply, 140 megawatts. Tranche 2, grid supply on the built environment, 80 megawatts. Tranche 3, grid supply on contaminated sites and landfills, 40 megawatts. Tranche 4, net metered non-residential installations over 5 megawatts, 40 megawatts. These 4 tranches add up to a total of 300 megawatts. And then finally, tranche 5, storage paired with grid supply, 160 megawatt hours. Staff recommends the procurement to be held annually, with potential changes in the exact timing of the solicitation to better align with the PJMQ process. The first solicitation will take place in the first quarter of 2023, with bids due on March 31st, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. A new CSI solicitation portal would be opened on February 1, 2023. Except for Tranche 3, project granted a CSI award will have 30 days following the board order announcing the award to register their CSI eligible facility with the board. Tranche 3 projects on contaminated sites and landfills will need to obtain board approval for conditional registration, which will be granted upon a determination of eligibility after a review in coordination with NJDEP. Projects on contaminated sites and landfills will have 30 days to register upon this determination of eligibility. Staff further recommends that all CSI projects be assigned a conditional registration that expires 36 months from the date of issuance of the notice of conditional registration. Staff recommends that the board direct the EDCs to work with staff to jointly procure an SREC 2 administrator or to expand the scope of the existing administrator to include the SREC 2s under the CSI program. And finally, staff recommends that the board close the interim subsection T market segment under the ADI program on the effective date of this order. We will now turn to the new siting rules, which are an important part of the CSI program. As mentioned earlier, the Solar Act of 2021 directs the board to establish siting criteria for all grid supply solar installations, as well as non-residential net metered solar installations with a capacity greater than 5 megawatts. The directive implies that the siting criteria will be applicable to all CSI eligible facilities, not just the projects seeking a New Jersey incentive. Staff proposes to prohibit siting of CSI eligible facilities on sites listed under sections 6C and 6E of the Solar Act of 21, absent a waiver from the board. The waiver, if applicable, will have to be obtained as part of the pre-qualification. Staff recommends that the prohibition absent a waiver also apply to CSI eligible facilities if the aggregate solar development on certain specified farmland exceeds 2.5% of such land statewide. Aggregate solar development will be defined as all CSI eligible facilities constructed after the effective date of the order plus all CSI-eligible facilities having received a notice of conditional registration. In addition, staff recommends that CSI-eligible facilities will not be allowed to register with the board if the aggregate solar development on certain farmland within a specific county exceeds 5% of such lands in the county where the proposed facility would be located. Projects that would breach this cap will not be eligible for a waiver. Staff recommends that the board provide an expedited waiver process for CSI-eligible solar on prohibited land uses if the facility will be located exclusively on the built environment, and that the board deems such installations to be presumptively in the public interest. In order to minimize potential negative environmental impact, staff recommends that all CSI-eligible facilities, other than those mounted on the built environment, will be required to comply with requirements detailed in the New Jersey Soil Erosion and Sediment Control Act, as well as comply with a limited number of specific erosion control measures recommended by New Jersey DEP and the SADC. In addition, staff recommends that unless proposed to be constructed on a contaminated site or landfill, all CSI-eligible facilities will be required to comply with DEP standards for the use of pollinator-friendly native plant species and seed mixes in grid supply and select net-metered solar facilities. And finally, staff recommends that CSI-eligible facilities, if proposed to be located on certain specified farmland, comply with requirements designed to enable restoration of the land to agricultural use or conversion to dual-use solar, if such restoration or conversion is desired at the end of the solar installation's useful life. Mr. President, Commissioners, this new program will create a new market for solar in New Jersey. Adding 300 megawatts of new solar per year will bring all the benefits of clean energy and hundreds of new jobs to the state. Staff believes that the CSI program does this in a way that's both environmentally responsible and at the lowest cost to ratepayers. Staff recommends the board approve the competitive solar incentive program.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree that this is a new chapter and even more exciting chapter in our development of solar in this state. And I just want to compliment the staff for all your efforts in putting together this very complex program. And I think we can all be very proud of what you put together. So, my congratulations.
Thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I also want to commend staff and frankly, all the agencies that have participated in putting this proposal together. You know, one of the concerns always, of this board was, keeping us the Garden State and making sure that our, farmlands are preserved and that, all interests of all parties were part of this competitive solar. Speaking of the competitive nature, that was also a major focus for this board and something that we've all been hoping to see within the solar industry, the ability to have a more competitive and market environment in bringing solar to the state, and hopefully by doing so will allow for a real benefit to ratepayers. That's what we've been told will be guaranteed as a result of this program, right, Abe? And we've had long discussions on the subject, so I'm throwing him under the bus there. And really see, how that works. I mean, Commissioner Holden and I had a demonstration the other day of the, BGS auction and, how that's been injected and, the benefits that have been awarded to New Jersey by being a part of that type of auction system. And to have that, within the solar landscape, hopefully we will garner, similar benefits. So, thank you to all those involved and for, listening and to all parties and taking into consideration all the interests of those involved.
Yes.
Pile on here. One of the exciting things that I always say, we're procrastinating, it looks like on the outside, but we're taking our time to study these things and get it right. And in the meantime, as I mentioned in our briefing, it's just very exciting seeing the things that are starting to develop in agrivoltaics, which, and I'm not going to throw Abe under the bus. I'm going to say, Abe, you are the champion of this. This is the future. And I was skeptical, but I will admit it's very exciting, some of the things that are going on. And I'm glad here it is Rutgers that's really leading the way, because I've checked with other ag schools around the country, and no one's really looking at agrivoltaics except Rutgers. So good work. New Jersey leads the way again.
I think it's important to note that this is just another step of our unwavering support of the solar industry here in the state of New Jersey. I've mentioned this many, many times, and we actually researched it. Back in 2001, we had 6 solar installations in the state of New Jersey. And we have over 160,000 today. And we keep advancing. And it's important for all of us to realize that these things, unfortunately, take time. We'd all like to just snap our fingers and have something done. It doesn't work that way. We have to keep in mind the ratepayer. We have to keep in mind the industry. And as you say, New Jersey leads the way in so many areas. We're directing the single largest purchase of clean energy the state of New Jersey has ever seen outside of offshore wind. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Not only are we significantly increasing the amount of solar we purchase, we also expect to see significantly lower costs to the ratepayers. When I came on board 17 years ago, people like Scott Hunter told me, and Mike Winka, that the cost of solar would come down. I too was skeptical. The cost of solar has come down. And clean energy will come down in general. And the economic benefits of these programs and initiatives that we have instituted here at the Board of Public Utilities have created jobs, have enhanced the economic well-being of this state. Almost 7,000 people are employed in the solar industry. These are things that just don't happen overnight. These are things that take time and take an awful lot of effort. And I want to thank Veronique and the entire solar team for their efforts in developing a plan, a program that will further the solar industry. And I have to tell you, we get an awful lot of abuse from all sectors. We're not going fast enough. We're going too fast. So there has to be a happy medium somewhere there, doesn't it? We're spending too much money. I'd rather spend the money and preserve the earth And that's what we're trying to do. And I say this many, many times. Our generation is going to be judged on how we mitigate the effects of climate change. This is the major issue before us today. And future generations are going to look back. And I'm not comparing us to the greatest generation. We talked about Pearl Harbor. But on what we did to mitigate the effects of climate change. But we can only do this with the cooperation of this entire board and the dedication and hard work of an outstanding staff. That's the only way it gets done. And we, regardless of how many times we get abused, criticized, whatever, we can hold our heads up high and say we are doing the right thing. The right thing for humanity. Not only for the state of New Jersey, not only for the United States, but for this planet. So congratulations. And congratulations to people, in addition to you, Veronique, as I said, the entire team, but to people like Scott Hunter and Mike Winka, who were really driving forces in the early days of the solar industry. It's really difficult for me to compliment Scott, but it is. I can't have you walk out of here happy, Scott. No, in all seriousness, Scott, you know I've said this many times, and I've said it in public forums many times. And I remember the battles. And in some cases, they were battles that we went through in developing programs for a solar industry. We're creating more jobs. We're creating union jobs. We're creating jobs that pay well. And we're saving our planet. To me, that's a win-win situation. So again, thank you. If there are no other comments, roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendations, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou?
Yes.
President Ferlisa?
Yes. Veronique, you're still on.
I'm not done yet.
I know, you're getting like Mike Winka with your presentation.
Sure, he was much more good looking than I am.
Oh.
Not at all.
So on to the agenda item 8D, in the matter of a rulemaking proceeding to amend the successor solar incentive rules and establish a competitive solar incentive program pursuant to PL 2021 C-169. This agenda item involves the proposal of amendments to the New Jersey Administrative Code, primarily amendments to Subchapter 11 of Chapter 8, Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, in Title 14. Subchapter 11 governs the Successor Solar Incentive, or SUSI program. The rule implements Section 4 of the Solar Act of 2021, which directs the board to establish a competitive solicitation process for awarding SREC 2s to grid supply solar facilities and net metered solar facilities greater than 5 megawatts. The rule proposal would establish a new competitive solar incentive, or CSI program, which will be the second major section of the SUSI program. The CSI program provisions in the rule proposal have been subject of a straw proposal, which was issued on April 26, 2022, and a total of 4 stakeholder meetings. Furthermore, the public has had several opportunities to provide written comments, and after the stakeholder meetings, a total of 12 written comments were received from a range of stakeholders. The provisions establishing the competitive solar incentive program in the rule proposal before you today mirror those laid out in the board order that was approved earlier today. So I'm not going to repeat those. In addition, the rule proposal includes several modifications to registration rules for the ADI program, including allowing the board discretion on whether to require a registration fee and clarifying several registration requirements. The proposed rules would allow projects that have previously registered under the TI program to register for the ADI program, even if they have already begun construction. The rule proposal would also add a requirement for a site plan for all SUSI projects with a capacity larger than 100 kilowatts. The requirements for this site plan largely follow the requirements for a site plan under the municipal land use law and would need to be signed and sealed by a licensed professional engineer. Staff recommends the board approve the rule proposal for publication in the New Jersey Registry.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou,
Yes.
President Ferlisa.
Yes. And you have one more, Veronique.
There's one more, but they get shorter as we go.
They get
along.
shorter.
So this is agenda item 8E in the matter of a rulemaking proceeding to create siting criteria for grid supply solar facilities and net metered non-residential solar facilities over 5 megawatt pursuant to PL 2021-C-169. The agenda item involves the proposal of a new subchapter in the New Jersey Administrative Code. And Title 14, that fell off my notes, Chapter 8, Subchapter 12, which are intended to specify siting criteria for grid supply solar and net metered non-residential solar facilities with a capacity greater than 5 megawatts. The rule proposal implements Sections 6 and 8 of the Solar Act of 2021, and the provisions were developed in close cooperation with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, New Jersey Department of Agriculture, and the State Agricultural Development Committee. The provisions in the rule proposal have been subject of a straw proposal, which was issued on March 26, 2022, and 2 stakeholder meetings. Furthermore, the public has had the opportunity to provide written comments, and staff received 11 comments from a range of stakeholders. The rule proposal before you today mirrors the siting and construction requirements laid out in the board order that was approved earlier today. So again, I'm not going to repeat myself. Staff recommends that the board approve the rule proposal for publication in the New Jersey Registry.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou,
Yes.
President Ferlisa.
Yes. Veronique, thank you very much. Good job. Mr. Hunter?
Yes, sir.
Mr. what? You can't say Fiordaliso, can you?
After all these years, you finally figured that out? Commissioners, this item relates to subsection T application from CEP Renewables to have its Vineland Newfield Solar Farm project certified as being located on a brownfield pursuant to subsection T of the Solar Act of 2012. The applicant's proposed 23.9 megawatt DC project is to be located on 37 acres at the former Shield Alloy Metallurgic Corporation site in Newfield Borough in Gloucester County, New Jersey. Staff reviewed the application and supplied a copy to the NJDEP, Department of Environmental Protection, for their review. We subsequently received an advisory memo on the application where the DEP determined that the proposed site is a brownfield as defined by the Solar Act. The DEP also provided specific conditions and requirements for permits and approvals from the DEP that the project must satisfy. Based on the review of the application and the advisory memorandum provided by the DEP, staff recommends the following 3 items. That the board grant conditional certification of the Vineland Newfield Solar Farm project as proposed for the former Shield Alloy Metallurgic Corporation site on property defined as a brownfield, consistent with the Solar Act. Find the conditions for certification provided by the DEP be fully documented as satisfied by the applicant prior to staff's issuance of full certification, and direct the applicant to file its TREC registration within 14 days of the date of the order.
So moved. Second?
Questions, comments? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christie Telu,
Yes.
President Fidelisa.
Yes.
Commissioners, this item relates to the administratively determined incentive for ADI program and staff's recommendation to reallocate capacity between market segment megawatt blocks within the ADI. On July 28, 2021, the board established the Successor Solar Incentive Program, which included the ADI program. The program design provides the board the ability to manage program budget in light of the statutory cost cap on Class 1 renewable energy expenditures through the establishment of incentive levels and allocations of capacity to market segments, referred to as megawatt blocks. The initial ADI design approved by the board included 4 market segment megawatt blocks: residential, non-residential, community solar, and an interim subsection T market segment with a megawatt block of 75 megawatts. The interim incentive opportunity for the subsection T market segment was to remain open until approximately 3 months prior to the start of the competitive solar incentive program, or until the megawatt block of capacity assigned to this market segment was filled, whichever occurs first. Staff received 1 interim subsection T application for 5.19 megawatt project, which leaves 69.18 megawatts of capacity unallocated. The megawatt blocks are intended to be restocked on an annual basis prior to the beginning of an energy year as part of the annual cost cap calculation and implementation process. On May 18, 2022, the board established the megawatt blocks for energy year 2023, assigning the residential market segment 150 megawatts and assigning the non-residential market segment 150 megawatts and the unallocated capacity from energy year 2022, which brought the total non-residential capacity available to 287 megawatts. The recommendation to reallocate capacity among the ADI market segment megawatt blocks is also time sensitive in the context of the pace of registrations in the residential market segment. As reported on November 30th, the residential market segment has received approximately 132 megawatts of registrations, with almost 18 megawatts of the original 150 allocation remaining. The non-residential market segment has not seen the same level of registration activity as the residential market segment. As of November 30th, approximately 62 megawatts of registrations have been received, leaving almost 226 megawatts of the energy year allocation remaining. This agenda item is also timely in the context of the earlier agenda item that Veronique presented, where the board established the competitive solar incentive program, which includes a tranche dedicated to contaminated sites and landfills, and closed the interim subsection T market segment in the ADI program. The agenda item is also timely in light of the board's directive in the July 2021 Successor Incentive Program order, requiring staff to conduct a 1-year review of the ADI program. Staff held a stakeholder meeting last Friday to discuss the performance of the program over its first year, including the incentive levels, market segments, and megawatt block subscription rates. Staff will be coming back to the board with recommendations resulting from the stakeholder process in early 2023. Staff recommends that the board address the immediate need in the residential market segment and reallocate capacity among the ADI market segments by directing staff to reallocate 69.81 megawatts of capacity from the closed interim subsection T market segment and reallocate 30.19 megawatts from the non-residential market segment to the residential market segment.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? I think we're seeing a record year as far as residential solar. And we have filled, I think, 150 megawatts.
Very nearly.
Yeah. And so today, as Scott mentioned, we're, to keep the vibrant sector going, our solar economy healthy by adding 100 additional megawatts to the residential solar market. I attribute a lot of this to the fact that obviously the developers are out there pushing this because it is money, but also the fact that our marketing campaign has really, I believe, alerted an awful lot of residents in the state of New Jersey that we are doing solar and how solar can benefit them insofar as their energy bill is concerned. So I think the marketing campaign is paying dividends. The social media that we utilize. Our communication division is constantly utilizing social media. They're doing a great job in promoting the various programs that we have. So I think all of this combined, again, I'm going to repeat myself, things take time. They don't happen overnight. And it's like everything else. And I don't know when you're watching TV if you see any of the commercials or you hear any of the commercials on the radio. Promoting the BPU's programs, initiatives, whether it's in solar, whether it's to help people pay their bills. There are so many facets that we're involved in. The pandemic demonstrated so many initiatives that the board does to help people, not only in the clean energy arena, but when you're talking about programs like LIHEAP, when you're talking about a variety of different energy initiatives that we have. When we talk about reliability and security to ensure the fact that we are secure. I'm sure we all saw or heard about the shooting in North Carolina, where someone shot up substations. And there are people in North Carolina still without power. So it's not only cyber attacks that we have to be concerned about, but it's also physical attacks. And that's the greatest fear I think most of us have, that we can really be brought to our knees if between cyber and physical attacks, our grid is compromised. The importance of this department, the importance of the Board of Public Utilities in every aspect we're involved in, every division that does its job so well, and they do, all of them, not only keeps the 9.3 million people in this state safe, but also promotes programs to make their lives better. So it's important that we're all proud of what we do. Even though so many people don't know what the Board of Public Utilities is. You see these late night shows where they send somebody out on the street and they ask them questions about things they should know, right? Like, who's the President of the United States?
So we're low on the totem pole, huh?
Who, they could never answer who the Board of Public Utilities is, the Board of Public Utilities is. But we know what we do. And it's recognized at the highest levels of this government. Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou,
Yes.
President Federlisa.
Yes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Mr. Dillon. Atlantic Shores?
Morning, Mr. President. Morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. This item addresses a petition by Atlantic Shores Offshore Wind LLC regarding the financial reporting requirements related to its offshore wind project. In its petition, Atlantic Shores makes several requests related to requirements for audited annual and quarterly financial statements for fiscal year 2021, determinations on timely submittals, and decisions on reporting during the life of the project award. Upon consideration and review of the program requirements and industry standards, as well as comments received, staff makes the following recommendations to the board. 1, staff recommends that the board use its waiver authority to grant Atlantic Shores' request to waive board rules requiring audited financial statements for fiscal year 2021 and the obligation to submit audited quarterly financial statements throughout the 20-year OREC term of the project award. In order to ensure that the board continues to receive sufficient financial information from Atlantic Shores, board staff shall reevaluate the waiver of audited quarterly statements, of the audited quarterly statement requirement for Atlantic Shores 2 years following the effective date of the board order regarding such waiver. And second, staff recommends that the board confirm that submission of unaudited quarterly financial statements within 60 days of each fiscal quarter and audited yearly financial statements within 90 days at the end of each fiscal year, beginning in the fiscal year 2022, shall be considered timely. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Yes.
While I agree with the, this is a nascent industry, they don't have any sticks in the water, they really don't have any inventory, so there's not much to audit at the moment. But, and I can certainly understand the burden of having to have a quarterly audit, but as far as the, sort of the true-up between the annual audit and the quarterlies, I think we need to establish some kind of a process to make sure that this is done and what the enforcement would be or the consequences would be if we found any great variations.
Noted.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendations, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Christodoulou,
Yes.
President Federlisa.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
There are no items under miscellaneous. Before we adjourn, I just have one last comment to make. And that comment is very simply this. It's a joyful one. If you saw my camera today, he is going to be the resident Santa Claus at Macy's. Right, Mike?
Yes.
And
He's also covering Hanukkah.
Yeah, double duty there. Dual use.
if there are no other comments,
I have very important one.
yes.
It's Saturday. Go Army, beat Navy.
Right.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.